Hello, how are you? Happy Wednesday. If you can see and hear me, drop it in the comments, please. I'm just going to check and make sure I'm live where I should be. And we'll get started on today, stress and the neck, part 2. So we're going to dive deeper. But first, I'm going to announce the winner of the 5-day challenge. Brian Werner showed up every day, participated, asked questions, tried out everything, did the homework. So he is the winner. I will tag him in, Brian, I will tag you in the comments here after I finish the live, and you can just reach out to me and we'll talk about your prize. Okay, so if you've watched last week's video, part 1, stress in the neck, and you have any questions, just comment below. Some of you I know attend the online neck workshop. You can now purchase it, it's on demand. If you have any questions about that, you can let me know. I'm going deeper a little bit in both these areas, some information that I did through the live here, and then some information, of course, I provided a lot of information in the 2-hour workshop. Today, specifically, we're going to apply it to life. So sometimes what happens is we go to a training, we go to a workshop, we go to our coach or acupuncturist or physical therapist or even a yoga class, and you might learn something, right? That time you moved, you cared for yourself, but often, personally, I find whenever I do something, whether it be a yoga class or attending a workshop or working with one of my healthcare providers, is I will learn a takeaway, at least one, most of the time. Sometimes I have to narrow it down to one so I can implement it into my life. But that's the point, is that we learn something, and a lot of the times the mistake I see is that there's no carryover. There's no doing that 1 or 2 takeaways consistently, unless you go back to the provider in a few more weeks, or whenever you go back next, or you return back to the yoga class, or you listen to a podcast again. But to really get the benefit of making change in your life, it's helpful to focus on one area and dive deeper in that. So it's learning one tactic, whether it be an exercise or a philosophy, anything like that, learning that knowledge and then implementing it till it becomes a new habit, a new pattern, and then you learn more. And that's why I think there's research done where there's sorry, I just got a message on workshops and trainings that most people only utilize like 15 to 20% of the information. And it's because our brain only has the capacity to handle so much at one time. So this week, I should say, is about implementing. So you can head to last week's Facebook Live to learn more knowledge. You can purchase the workshop to learn more knowledge. If you haven't done either, I will be showing you 2 asanas for the neck specifically. And one's more vigorous, more strengthening, and the other is more restorative in nature. And that is because one is not better than the other. You don't always want to be doing vigorous, hard workouts, and you don't always want to be practicing only restorative yoga, for example. You really, to have a holistic health routine that serves you, serves your business, allows you to show up as the parent, the spouse that you want to be. It really, or even just how you want to show up, maybe if you enjoy performing in athletics in some way, whether it be races or CrossFit, you really need a holistic plan. It's kind of like cross training. If you ever did a sport when in your youth, in high school or college, right? You dialed down on the drills of that particular sport to allow you to perform better. But then hopefully the coach brought in some cross training tactics or techniques or days that allowed your body to recover, or that used your body in a different way. So it allows for, so you don't get beat down, essentially. And sometimes this happens in our business. We just kind of get into a grind and we lose sight of our ideal schedule, or maybe the reason why we decided to have a business in the first place. Or maybe we just we have time and energy leaks that we're not aware of, all these things. Or maybe even our workouts can be draining us. So this week is an opportunity to check in. And continue to learn something new, but more importantly, I'm reinforcing the benefit of doing something consistently until it becomes part of your lifestyle, and then adding something new. So let's check in here for a moment. Find a comfortable seat if that's available to you. Close the eyes, maybe even lie down. It's one of my favorite ways to meditate. And check in. How's your week been going? The benefit of having these Facebook Lives in the middle of the week on Wednesday is that we can check, it's like a pause midweek where we can evaluate how's the week gone so far. And we still have a couple days left to do more of what's working, maybe refine, or like for me, as some of you know, I'm going through healing from a hysterectomy, and I found myself for a few days there in a slump. Truthfully, pick yourself up out of it and keep going. So we still have the rest of the day, tomorrow and Friday. So what's been working well for your week so far? Pick one area: your health, business tactics. Maybe it's how you're showing up in the relationship with your spouse or your kids. Pick one area of your life, maybe that you're struggling with or that you'd like to improve upon, and answer that question. What's been going well? Maybe you attended the neck workshop and now you are implementing some things. Maybe you did some good meal prep and planning for the week. Maybe you made a schedule for your business on Monday of things that you've wanted to get done, tasks, and you've been on track so far. Maybe it's your mindset. Maybe you've been believing in yourself and confident that you can get the results that you truly desire. What's been going well for you? Write it down and bring it to your awareness. What hasn't worked? Maybe you didn't do the meal planning. Maybe you didn't attend the neck workshop even though you wanted to. Maybe you haven't trusted yourself or trusted your intuition. That's another lesson I learned over the last, I would say, month and a half. For some reason, I lost sight of my intuition, trusting my gut. And it took a synchronistic event to pull me back to reality that when I have my mindset in the right place, when I believe that I can create what I dream, what I put out into the world, picked me up out of that slump, connected me back to trusting myself. If you're interested in hearing that story, let me know. Maybe I'll tell it next week. And so based upon what has worked this week for that one intention, what hasn't worked this week for that area, what will you do different for the rest of the week? How can you show up in a way that'll get you closer to being the person that you desire, having the business you desire, the house, whatever it is? This is not from a place of judgment or criticism. This is from a place of compassion and love for yourself. Okay, so the other thing I want to ask you is, as you review your week and maybe you're realizing, some things that could have been done better, or some emotions that are coming up like worries or fears and anxiety, where are you holding that in your body? So check in. The last couple of weeks, I've really been focusing on the neck and the jaw, just because that's where a lot of people hold their stress and tension. And then how they sit at the desk can compound this. If you want to learn more about that, head to this week's podcast. I'll drop it in the comments after I finish up here. But I definitely dive deeper into this, and it complements last week's training as well. But how about, is that true for you? Some people hold it in their hips, tension in their hips, their low back, their chest, and then their shoulders curl in. All this can contribute to those nagging aches and pains that kind of pop up on the radar. They can be distracting. They can be an energy leak for sure, draining you. So in relation to the neck, I'm going to show you two fun yoga postures. And why I love yoga so much is because it becomes a lifestyle, right? For me, it's an opportunity to get stronger, get more flexible, continue to create mobility in my body, the ability to heal from surgeries with hope as I get older. So I know a lot of people worry about aging, that whatever is going on, that maybe it's just going to get worse, right? So it's a physical practice. Yes, it allows us to move and it gives us all those benefits. But it's also a lifestyle and a mental practice when we incorporate in the meditation and the breath work. And so both of these postures are going to be teaching a bit of all of that. And you can do both or pick one. It might not be necessarily that you really love and enjoy, but it might be something that you really need. Like, if you've ever heard my story, you know that I don't necessarily love strength training, but I do appreciate the benefits of doing it because I'm so hypermobile that without it, I really feel ungrounded and too lax in my body. So I strength train, even though it's not my favorite. So you might not like restorative, but it might be exactly what you need. So the first posture I'm going to show you, I'm just going to get my chair out of the way here, is great if you do work on the computer or at a desk throughout most of your day. It will reverse some of that sitting and looking at the screen time. Also, it's a great way to, there we go. I'm just checking. Sorry, there's a little bit of delay. I just wanted to make sure we could see the map. It's a great way to begin to drop in to meditating. So sometimes we think that meditation has to be this big deal where we block off an hour of time and we're clearing our mind completely blank, all that stuff, and that can all block or cause us to procrastinate on meditate, get overwhelmed, and not do it at all. So sometimes a nice gateway to ease into meditation and breath work, which can be so beneficial, is through restorative postures. So at least you're doing something that's a little familiar to your body, of working with your physical body. So maybe it's telling yourself, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to set myself up on the blocks for just like 2 minutes, set a timer, and you're working with reversing the time at the desk, right? But also, while you're there, why not do some breathing techniques, or why not check in with the thoughts? You can even do that evaluation process that I just went through. So it's a great way to begin to experience some of the benefits of meditation. Here's the other thing with meditation is that sometimes meditation itself can be very uncomfortable. A lot of people, especially ambitious type A active adults I know, go to yoga to bliss out, to release their stress and tension, or that's, someone told them to try meditation for that reason. And sometimes the actual experience of meditating is uncomfortable, especially if you're like a type A going type person. So this is one way to ease the discomfort, because you're only there a short time and you're working with the physical body. So more on that another time. Today we're focusing on the neck. So here's how you can set your blocks up in that picture that I just posted the other day. You have one block on medium height, one block at the taller setting. If you lie back on these, and I'll show you how in just a moment, and these blocks, I have nice cork blocks because they're firm. They're my favorite. The foams can like really warp over time. But if you lie on the blocks and you're there, it's uncomfortable, then you want to drop it down a notch, because for sure you're not going to stay even a minute or two if you're just torturing yourself, right? So at least make yourself comfortable if you're going to pause and stop and do nothing, which is torture to begin with sometimes, right? Drop in the comments if you can relate to that. Okay, so you can start with your blocks. I've been doing a combination because, as you know, I'm healing from surgery. So some days I have the blocks at this height. Some days now I'm getting able to tolerate the taller height for longer periods. Now, if both of those don't work, don't beat yourself up, right? I used to have a CPA patient, a client that was a CPA. And for him, he had spent so many decades working at the desk, just standing upright was like a bit of a back bend. So you can just take a couch cushion or some blankets and just lie back on those for now as an alternative. The point of this physical restorative posture is to open the front of the chest, to restore the natural curve of the neck. It does so many things, but let's just focus on those. So if you find yourself slumping, at the desk, this is a great way to reverse that. And you can even experience that in your body. If you slump right now and reach your arms overhead, how high do they go? Versus if you're able to sit up nice and tall with the chest open, pelvis in a nice neutral place, you can reach up much higher without all that compression through the shoulders and the neck. So that's the benefit physically of this posture. Then emotionally, heart openers help you to begin to experience joy and happiness. They're very uplifting. They're literally opening your heart to receive. So if you're a mom, Mother's Day is coming up in a month. And I know so many moms that tell me oh my gosh, I need a holiday after Mother's Day, because they're like end up being the one planning and doing everything, like, because they have a hard time receiving. So you can start to do this pose to just allow yourself to receive. The act of doing nothing is caring for yourself in a very, very different way that's not normal to what's expected of our society. So here's how you set yourself up. So sit your hips right in front of the blocks. Use your arms to help yourself lower down. Bring that lower block in between the shoulder blades, and then the head goes on the top block, right? That's it, really. You can pick up the hips, lengthen through the spine, then place the hips back on the ground, palms towards the sky. Two options with the legs. You can walk the feet wide, allow the knees to fall in. That might be option one. If your low back says it's okay, remember, no pain and discomfort here. We want it to feel good. Then you can straighten the legs. And so from here, as I breathe, especially in my surgical region, I can feel the fascia sliding and gliding. I could even feel, because of one of my portals had an infection on the right side here, that it's still really bound down on this right side compared to the left. So there's so many things that I can do here. Like, for example, and this works well if someone has scoliosis, you can place your hand on the ribs and notice if there's a difference side to side. You can just breathe. You can do that meditation. You can do the evaluation process. But that's the benefit, really, of working with someone like me, is that, you know, I can hear your unique problem and then help. There's so many poses, it's really endless, and there's so much that you can do in a pose or do nothing in a pose, that it's helpful to have that guide to help get you there faster, get your results faster, and kind of compile it all into one thing. But this is a great way to get started. So set a timer for your first go for like a minute, 2 at the most, because if you stay too long the first time, this is really true of any restorative posture, you can come up and feel super cranky and achy. So you want to really see how your body responds, and then if you have the green light, then, you know, stay longer. This one, because the blocks, it's a good challenge here for a restorative pose. Some restorative pose, like legs up the wall or Supta Baddha Konasana, you can stay for like 20 minutes or so, but this one, the blocks are pretty vigorous, so just a minute or 2 will do it. I'm sorry. And then when you I'd say 3 to 5 minutes at the most. Okay, and so then the next pose is the second picture I showed, which is Pincha Mayurasana. So often I find a lot of yogis or aspiring yogis, they really want to do the fancy poses for whatever reason, right? No judgment against that, because personally, as you can see, I love to practice the fancy poses myself. They're just fun, right? I hope to be able to do some fancy poses as I age. If my daughter decides to have kids, I can, you know, hopefully do handstands and fun stuff with my grandkids. Like, it just gives me hope that I can slow down aging, even, you know, especially with my hysterectomy and being in menopause at age 40, that I'm not going to age rapidly, right? I think and lose declining function and strength and independence and all those things. So there's a lot of benefits to practicing the fancy and fun poses. However, a huge mistake I see is that yogis think that they have to be practicing the fancy poses, or that they're less of a yogi if they're not doing the fancy poses. Or especially for yoga teachers feel that they're not a great yoga teacher or inspiring, influential yoga teacher if they can't do the fancy poses. So then they push and force. And that is really when we set ourselves up for injury. So there's more on that in the podcast. I believe it's the belief episode. I think it's 81 or so. So definitely go listen to that if this resonates with you at all. But the nice thing about this fancy pose in particular is that you don't actually have to do the inversion where you kick your legs up overhead. This is forearm stand. It's a great neck release. So sometimes yogis, they want to go to headstand, right? They want to do the inversion and they want to go to headstand. And headstand puts a tremendous amount of pressure, if not done correctly, on the head and the neck. It can be, and especially if you have like osteoarthritis or any neck issues, there's just better things to do. Personally, I can do headstand. I can stay there for like, I'll even show you. I can stay there for like 5 minutes. Like headstand for me is not a problem. Like I have the strength, I have the capacity, I can use my muscles and push into the ground. Like I can talk here, I can do a variety of poses, I can twist. Like headstand is not a problem for me. However, I choose a lot of the times not to do it. So it's just like anything that you might do for your business. What you say yes to in terms of your time often means that you have to say no to something else. So you really have to evaluate the pro, cons, or the risk reward, right? So same is true when you're developing your program or wanting to do activities that really challenge you, like maybe a half marathon or a very challenging hike or a new CrossFit WOD or fancy yoga postures. You really have to evaluate the risk versus the reward. So for me, headstand I can do once in a while. Like if I show up to a class now that we're getting back into community classes here in San Diego, once in a while doing headstand and holding it and playing around, not a problem. But in terms of getting a daily inversion in, I have much better options that don't put the same risk on my neck. So personally, I'll choose a lot of the times hanging out on the yoga wall. That might be another video for another day. Or I'll do pincha, Mayurasana, and that's this pose right here. So the benefit of doing this inversion is twofold. That to get the benefit in your neck, you don't even have to kick all the way up. You can just stay in dolphin, which I'll show you in the moment. Or if you want to play around, then you can set yourself up at a wall and really work on your arm and shoulder strength. And when your head, because in this posture, your head is not touching the ground at all, then your neck is actually getting a lot of traction and it's very freeing for the neck, and you're strengthening those muscles that often get really tight and compressed. So then you're telling your body, your nervous system, like, I'm strong, I can support myself, you can let go, you don't have to grip so tightly. And because it's fun, hopefully, then it's a great stress relief. So here's how to do it. This is the ideal setup, right? So you want your elbows to be at shoulder height and your forearms to be parallel to each other. So what happens often if there's tightness or you're not utilizing one muscle in particular, your serratus anterior, is that the elbows will go wide and the hands will go in like this. And then there'll be a lot of weight on the pinky finger. So your job is to try to keep the elbows in alignment. So if you come into dolphin, which I'll show you in a minute, and you find that your elbows are splaying and then the weight is coming a lot on your pinky, not at all at your thumb, then you want to stay in dolphin. You definitely do not want to kick up because you don't want to reinforce that pattern and that habit. So you want to get to, you can hold this position in dolphin quite easily. And then from there, then you kick up. So here we'll stay with this just for today in dolphin and not even worrying about the actual inversion because your neck's still going to get a ton of benefit. So you're going to place your elbows on the ground, forearms on the ground, and then I mindfully make sure I'm sealing my wrist crease to the ground, my thumb pads to the ground, all the way down to my pinky finger. So I can maintain that connection to the earth as I lift my hips up into the air and then walk my toes towards my elbows. And so this is a great hamstring stretch, actually. And now I can shake out my head and allow it to relax. So here's the other last tip is that you want to make sure that your head is not collapsing towards the ground because you're collapsing in your shoulders. You want to
Push through your forearms to lift your head away from the ground. And that's it.
One other thing you can do is add a strap on your right above your elbows to help prevent them from flaring. But there's some disclaimers to that. So truthfully, it might be easier to seek out the help of a professional like me to see if a strap is really warranted or not. But those are two. So today you have the evaluatory process to go through to set you up for the rest of the week. You have a restorative posture to reverse the sitting, and you have a vigorous posture that's strengthening and great traction for the neck. So I would love to hear what one you're going to do this week. So comment below, let me know 1, 2, or 3, and maybe what an obstacle that's holding you back from doing it. So like, what's your initial thought? Like, I don't have the time. I'm not sure what's best for my body. If you have any resistance, reservation, or obstacles, comment those in the chat area in the comments, and I'll help you through it. And then we'll meet next week, and Brian, reach out to me to claim your reward. Okay, any other topics, questions? You can also leave those in the comments, and I'm here for you. So I want to cover what you really want to learn more of. So let me know, and that would be super, super helpful. Alrighty, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.